Why did you want to get married?
I asked because I wanted a family with her. It's so much more than just a certificate or a big celebration. It's like literally saying to that person, I'm going to honor you for the rest of my life. I shopped for a ring and it wasn't for me. It's just really big for a girly girl like myself.
Most of our relationship, we were, I think it was 8 hours apart. So it was quite a lot, and I just wanted to be in the same place as her, and I wanted to wake up with her every morning, and just felt like the right thing to do. I don't know.
Terry-Ann was already a part of my family, like she's close with everyone, and I asked just to make it more official, just to help grow my family and make everything, just tie in the knot. Yeah.
We wanted to get married for a really long time. I was having a bit of trouble with the full coming out experience.
We weren't sure how certain people would take the news, and she's from a big, giant Italian family. Eventually, I decided that we weren't. Look, I asked her, obviously, where the story's going. And everyone, by the way, responded super well and amazing. And Grandma was the first person to say, like, she literally walked in.
She walked in with the champagne.
With champagne, yeah. So.
I guess for me, I have to know, like, this is who I'm going to make the rest of these plans, you know, with for life. You have a life partner, and it's you and that person against all odds, against the world.
I remember I had a discussion with a friend, and he said, you know what, at the time Amber and I were living together, and he said, you know what, you're playing the role of house. You might as well get the benefit of being married. At first, I convinced myself I wanted to fly under the radar as long as possible, but the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I'm not seeing anyone else. I'm 100% committed to Amber. What am I waiting on?
I never dreamed like not be a bride and everything, but my mother-in-law said, no, you're
going to regret if you don't do it.
I think you want to have the pictures and you want to have your dad going in the aisle with you. And she said it once, and I'm like, yeah, I think I want all of that.
Well, it's because he moved up here. He took a job in the city. It was kind of a necessity because we didn't want to be apart, and we certainly would not live together. And so we had to get married.
Yeah.
I didn't think marriage was necessary. I knew that I didn't need a contract. But Renee felt that for the sake of her children and grandchildren, she would like us to get married.
I remember when I was in 8th grade, I told my mom that I was going to marry Abe Hahn. And I don't think she was expecting it. We were driving, and she kind of screeched to a stop, and she was like, what?
I think we would have been married probably, the first year if our parents would have let us.
George's son had a scholarship to Vassar, and they looked at both parents' incomes. The combination of the three people, his mother, his father, and his stepmother, would disqualify him.
We waited till his senior year.
Well, I think I had reached a point. I had dated through my 20s. I was in my early 30s, and I was just kind of ready to settle down with the right person. I was thinking about having kids, etc. I just felt totally relaxed with Jill and in love.
We dated from the time I was 17, and we dated for 5 years. And back then, if you weren't married by 22, then you were going to be an old maid. So I kind of gave him like a time limit after I graduated college. And if he didn't ask me in a couple of months from there on, I was on to my next But he asked.
So I had to leave my mother's cooking to get married.
Well, we were 20 when we were married. But my parents had moved away, and I was working, and I was very unhappy, living with a friend. And one day we were sitting outside of his house, and he saw how unhappy I was, and he said, we're going to get married. And I went, okay.
I think we both wanted a family. We were very young. We got married when we were 23. But back then, you didn't live together because you knew it would have hurt your parents.
It was time for him to get married. I was 23 and he was 33. Those days, 33 was old.
Well, I was a modern man.
It seems that for most
young women in the early 1950s, the goal was to get married. Career was thought of, was thought of as more of a temporary thing until you wound up with a husband and had a family. And I guess I also was looking forward to the freedom that marriage would bring, because I lived in a fairly traditional home where my mother kept careful watch over me.
I loved her, and so why shouldn't I ask her to get married?
Yes.
So I did.